Can I just say that I'm so glad the Club Penguin Myths video did well? Like, I went into it expecting it to be a one-time thing, but much to my surprise, the video did well. I love it when videos do well. That's like the best thing a video can do. One thing that happens a lot when a video topic does well is I get a lot of people asking me to make more videos about that topic. And well, for this, I am very happy to deliver. I can talk about Club Penguin for hours, and I had a blast keeping the conversation going with other Club Penguin history buffs in the comments section. People provided more insight, brought up some other myths, and even shared some really fun personal stories. My childhood friend told me Webkinz users were sneaking into igloo windows at night and killing puffles. I went to bed every night terrified for my puffles. I have to admit though, that I'm not really sure what I'll end up titling this video. Initially I intended to make another video purely about fan theories and myths surrounding the game, but I had trouble finding enough topics that really had a lot that could be said about them. Unless I wanted to make a whole video about puffles dying because of vengeful Webkinz fans. So I'm doing a mix of in-game myths with other pieces of interesting trivia surrounding the game. So I'll probably call it Secrets and Trivia, or something like that. I don't know yet. You know it though. But yeah, let's just dive right in. On February 19th, 2008, the Aqua Grabber minigame was officially added to Club Penguin. Well, sort of. Initially, it was added as part of the Save the Migrator event, which was an event that ran over a few months in early 2008. The story was that Rockhopper had crashed into an iceberg on his way to Club Penguin, and his ship was totally wrecked. Gary the Gadget Guy sprung in to the rescue and built the Aqua Grabber 3000 as a machine that could go underwater and salvage parts of the Migrator, and players could take part in that in a new minigame. If you got all the parts, you even got a golden wheel pin. Eventually, the event came to an end. Rockhopper's ship was all fixed, and Club Penguin continued on mostly unchanged, with a certain exception. The iceberg now had the Aqua Grabber 3000 freely accessible, and the minigame became a permanent fixture, just with players looking for pearls instead of shipwreckage. But in this minigame lay a few secrets. For example, in Clam Waters, there was a 5% chance you would come across the frightening silhouette of a mythical Club Penguin creature, the Giant Squid. And I mean, nowadays to me, it doesn't really seem that threatening, but if I saw this when I was like 6 or 7, I would have probably freaked out and closed the game thinking that it would kill my penguin or something. The squid hangs out for a few seconds before yeeting itself way off the screen. This is already pretty scary for young kids, but according to the Club Penguin wiki, there was more. The squid originally made a really loud roar sound when it appeared, but it was taken out because it was deemed too scary. Take that with a grain of salt though, because there's no real source shown on the page, and I could barely find any Aqua Grabber footage with a squid that also had audio. Like, so many of the videos were either silent or had blasting 2000s pop punk or post-grunge that I couldn't find any actual evidence. If it ever actually was in the game, it must have been taken out pretty quickly. In the following years, the Giant Squid would make a few secret appearances around the island. It would appear under the iceberg now and then in the 2010 and 2011 adventure parties, and in the minigame Puffle Rescue, it would lead you to a secret room. In the first Black Puffle level, if you stayed in the same location where you saved the Puffle, the squid would appear and guide you towards a secret exit as long as you use the bubbles it releases as a means of staying closer to the surface. Eventually you would find a staircase, and it led you to the secret underwater room, now with the moss key so you could come back whenever through the hidden lake. At this point, fans had gotten more acquainted with the mysterious creature, but we still only knew it as a silhouette. What it looked like? Well, that was something left up to the imagination of fans. All we knew is that it was gigantic and it drifted the seas of Club Penguin. Whether it was a friend or foe, we could only hope for the best. Until they actually showed it off in an animated short. And, well, I sort of have mixed feelings. I mean, there's a part of me that feels a little disappointed by its design, but honestly, I don't know what else they really could have done other than maybe make it a bit more detailed. In the short, it mistakes Rockhopper's red Puffle Yar for a ball it had lost, and attacks Rockhopper's ship to try and take him. It's cute and all, but it doesn't really lean into the whole mystery of the squid that had been built up over the past couple of years. You might think there would be a scene where you see the squid emerge from the ocean and reveal itself in a dramatic way, but there isn't any. He's at the surface just chilling out from the start. But whatever, I'm not gonna seriously complain about this. It was 11 years ago and they were trying to put together a 2-minute short. I'm not gonna be a stickler. Not now anyways. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Last year I brought up the whole legend of Card Jitsu Shadow, and the whole question of whether it existed or not. We had fun, but because I focused on Shadow in that video, I neglected to talk about the fact that the whole ninjas in Club Penguin thing was a source of major speculation years before anyone even uttered the phrase Card-Jitsu Shadow. And it's about time someone talks about Club Penguin ninjas. That's a really good topic for a video. Dang it, someone already made a video about ninjas in Club Penguin. I hate it when other people make videos that I could have made. Well, whatever, I'll give you the gist anyway. The whole ninja myth preceded Club Penguin itself. In Penguin Chat 3, you could turn your penguin into a ninja by pressing the N in penguin. Much cooler than just a naked penguin, I must say. It even had a sword, which didn't make it into the main game for some reason. I don't know if it's because they didn't want to have weaponry in-game, or it didn't really fit with the whole Card-Jitsu thing, but they did eventually add sword items later on, so I'm gonna guess the latter. Ninjas were very much planned to be added to Club Penguin in some capacity for years, but they were always put on the wayside. Puffles and Spies came first, but there were a couple of hints left around. I mean, first of all, even at the start of Club Penguin in 2005, the dojo was there. There was nothing in it, but it existed for years as an entirely empty secret room, not unlike the iceberg before Card-Jitsu became a thing. I had actually forgotten this, and I misremembered the dojo as appearing in 2007 or something, but no. It was just hanging out in the mountains of Club Penguin with no stated purpose since the beginning. Perhaps more incriminating was the fact that on the original Club Penguin home screens, clicking certain parts of the page would make a ninja show up. But this was enough to send us off the deep end. Players believed they saw evidence of ninjas wherever they went, and most of it was initially just coincidental. I think the most famous example is the mirror in the ski lodge, which had a silhouette that sort of resembles the body and flipper of a penguin. According to developers, this seemed to just be a coincidence, but players were convinced these were the shadows of secret ninja penguins. Another common sighting was this shadow in the lighthouse. Towards the end of 2008, Card-Jitsu finally became a real thing, and players could now do battle to climb up the ranks to become ninjas. But it didn't just happen out of nowhere. The entire thing was set up in the months preceding, and I gotta say, it's really a triumph how it was done. During the Halloween party in 2008, a thunderstorm had covered the island, and every time lightning struck in the dojo, shadows of ninjas would appear. The following month, the Dig Out the Dojo event took place because the dojo got struck by lightning and buried in an avalanche. During this period of time, the ninja sightings were everywhere. You could see them whizzing around all over the island, and very notably, you could see the alleged ninja shadows in the lighthouse and ski lodge move around. And that might not seem like a big deal to you, but to me, I think this really was Club Penguin at its peak. This wasn't the first time they really played off of the fans, and it certainly wasn't the last, but the way they kind of turned what was just an arbitrary shadow that coincidentally looked like a penguin into part of the myth is just fantastic. It really is. Man, I miss that. I'm getting old. I'm not saying that Club Penguin stopped being good here or anything, but I think the way they handled ninjas was one of the best, if not the best ways they ever set anything up in the game. But something kind of interesting is that even before Card-Jitsu and all the belts and ninja gear was added to Club Penguin, there was already an item ID for a ninja mask in-game. However, if you tried to obtain it, you would be banned. Why? Well, because it was one of the... This one isn't really a myth, because, as I said, not everything in this video is going to be myths, but this is one little bit of Club Penguin trivia that I find really interesting. Cheating in Club Penguin has been around, well, pretty much as long as Club Penguin. For almost the entire life cycle of the game, hackers and script kiddies were constantly at war with the developers to find new ways to exploit the game and get stuff they weren't supposed to. One of the main ways people would cheat in the game was using trainers, which were modified clients that came with a bunch of features not accessible in normal browser gameplay. Why they were called trainers? I don't actually know. A lot of trainers had client-side hacks that might have changed the visual representation of the game in fun ways, but didn't actually interfere with anything. You could do stuff like turn yourself into a mascot, or make yourself gigantic, or change your name. Penguin Storm had a feature that gave color to all the player names, which honestly looked quite cool. But, you know, not all cheats were client-side. It was surprisingly easy to hack in items or coins using trainers or adders, and many penguins did such a thing. I remember it got really bad in like 2014, where I would see people wearing hacked-in beta hats all the time in-game. I mean, it was easy. All you had to do was put in your username and password. Kinda sus, but it seemed to work a lot of the time. It was a fun trip doing some research on in-game cheating for this video. I came across a bunch of YouTube video gems in the search. Hello YouTube, today I will show you how to use Penguin Storm. Bro, stop it! Don't write that in the chat, bro! Don't self-snitch, bro! They haven't got anything on you yet! Even though you and a bunch of other users are walking on top of the buildings. The developers would try to combat cheating in a lot of ways, many with varying degrees of success. But one of the ways I find the most interesting is their use of bait items, which, in a nutshell, were fake items added to the game in order to lure cheaters. These bait items would have corresponding names and IDs like regular items, but if a player tried to cheat them into their game, they would get a big fat ban. Because, well, there isn't any legal way to obtain them. A lot of them didn't have any corresponding graphics. I guess the idea was to have these elusive items catch the attention of a hacker reading through the list of Club Penguin items, and then have them banned when they attempt to cheat them in the game. Some of these items included the Angel Halo, the skateboard, and for a time, the Ninja Mask. Eventually, the Ninja Mask would actually be changed to be available when Card-Jitsu became a thing. A lot of the bait items were actually clothing items worn by the game's mascot characters, such as Cadence's scarf, Sensei's hat, and Bob's bass guitar. The upright one he used before he got, like, yassified with the rest of the Penguin band. The gray color and lavender color were bait items as well, as they were reserved for the mascot Sensei and Dot. Ooh, a skateboard. Ooh, an Angel Halo. Ooh, Sensei's hat. Ooh, lavender color. Here's a funny story. Well, I think it's funny. When I was like 9, I remember playing on a private Club Penguin server where you could say bad words and hack into items without getting banned. It was pretty fun. In order to get free items in that server, you had to fill in a command like !AI and then the item number. So if you wanted the elusive red lei, you could type AI 171 because 171 was the red lei's item ID. And it would work. So I took out the list of Club Penguin items and their associated IDs, and my attention was piqued by what I would soon learn was a bait item. I don't remember what it was specifically, but if I had to guess, it was probably the skateboard. Item ID 371. I tried to add it to my account, and if memory serves, I immediately got a box notification. But not a blue one, an orange one. Not a good sign. I don't remember what it said, but it was probably something like, cheating is against the rules of Club Penguin. Don't do that. Or something. I don't know. I was freaked out by that, and I didn't know what was happening or why. I was on a private server. I got so mad about it that I left a negative comment on the YouTube video that I had learned to add in items from, and I got in a small little argument with some other players on the private server. The thing is, they didn't really understand what was going on. Neither did I, frankly. They told me that this doesn't work in the main game, that's probably why I got it. But I wasn't doing it in the main game. I didn't even get banned from the private server after doing it either. My best guess is that it may have been a built-in mechanism from the main game made to stop players from hacking into items that just wasn't taken out of the private server. It may have popped up if users tried to hack into items or something. I really don't know, and I don't know if I ever will know. The only thing I know is that I know nothing. I'm gonna be brutally honest. I did not like Operation Blackout when it first came out. And that's really funny to me because it's now seen as one of the best parties in Club Penguin history. Because, well, to be honest, it really is. I was just really joyless and stubborn. I think before I go any further talking about this, I should clarify that I am through and through a Club Penguin old head. I was very much into the whole shouting old is gold and new is ew thing. We Club Penguin players rioted hard. Not as hard as RuneScape players, but still pretty hard. If you asked me in 2012 if Club Penguin had gone downhill, I would have given you an unequivocal yes. I would have said the game was terrible and everything about it sucked, and the game had sucked ever since they were bought by Disney. Meanwhile, I never even played the game actively until like 2008, which was a year after it was bought by Disney. Nowadays, I think I'm a bit more nuanced about the whole thing, but I do think there was a lovable simplicity to the early years of the game that was kind of lost later on. I mean, I was pretty checked out by the time they replaced the black outline art style with the very glossy colored line art and the eternal open beak smile every piece of official art had. I don't even know why I was still playing Club Penguin, really. I was afraid of telling anyone I still played it at school, and I complained about it constantly. I guess it was the YouTube videos I made, and, you know, honestly, despite all of my cynical complaints, I think there was a part of me that still really loved Club Penguin, and I just couldn't really admit it to myself. You know, I was 11 years old, and when I was 11, I basically pretended that I hated everything except for, like, Pokemon, Earthbound, and YouTube. Actually, speaking of YouTube, funny story, when the Operation Blackout party was happening, I actually made a short comedy video with an old friend where our penguins found out that Herbert P. Bear had taken over the island, and we initially tried to stop him until we find out he'd blown up the everyday phoning facility, and because of that we joined his forces. After all, we were major Club Penguin old heads, and because of that, we much preferred the sports shop. Even nowadays, I think the fact that one of the snow sports dressing rooms led to the Penguin's secret agency was hilarious, and I wish they never took it out. Honestly, the only bad blood I really had with Operation Blackout was that after the event, they renovated pretty much the entire game. All the major in-game rooms were completely redesigned, and I was frankly livid. The new buildings were much more straight and angular with a very glossy finish. Nowadays, a lot of people say that the redesigns look better, and, well, I don't know if it's worth making a case of it being quote-unquote better or worse, but I will say that personally, I really do prefer the older fisheye designs and art direction. I can't really blame them for changing it though. In 2012, they had a lot more money and probably had a much larger team of artists than they did in 2005, and it was probably a good business decision to touch up the game instead of leaving it as is so bitter tweens like me would be satisfied. So anyway, you might be thinking, Switchy, why talk this long about Operation Blackout? What are you leading to? Well, Operation Blackout was the party where Antarctic was revealed to be the director. That's pretty much it. I really could have just started off with that, but I really like talking about Club Penguin. Before Operation Blackout, the director of the PSA and EPF was an elusive figure whose identity was entirely unknown. The only time they were shown was in a dark environment where they couldn't be seen in any capacity except for the vague shape of sunglasses, a suit, and a tie. Honestly, it doesn't make any sense how that works. The director also signed their name with the one symbol in the PSA secret code that didn't correspond to a letter. I don't know if that means the signature was like N with a tilde or something. Some people thought it may have meant that it rolled back to the start of the alphabet and meant AA, which of course were Antarctic's initials, and this helped lead to the first theories about Antarctic being the true director. I remember hearing about it for years before Operation Blackout, but most of the pieces of evidence were pretty inconclusive. I mean, there was the fact that she was the first penguin you actually talked to in the missions, even before Gary the Gadget Guy. Perhaps the whole Missing Puffles mission she sent you on was a way to train you. There was also an Easter egg in the newspaper where if you hovered your cursor over her glasses, they would darken into having black lenses. This one specifically actually wasn't intentional at first because it was added before they really started trying to conceptualize the director as a thing, but since they already had that little secret, it kind of played into them definitively deciding to make Antarctic the true identity. How did the director's dark square frame glasses turn into Antarctic's pointy granny glasses? That doesn't make any sense. All in all though, the Antarctic director thing was mostly just something the developers playfully hinted at, but there was no direct confirmation until Operation Blackout. Well, except for one thing that allegedly existed in the game for years. There's a rumor I've heard for years and years, way before Operation Blackout ever occurred. The rumor states that in the pre-2012 Club Penguin nightclub, one of the tiles in the colored floor of the nightclub spells out, Antarctic is the head of PSA, when you interpret its light flashes as Morse code. I could find people saying this as far back as 2006, which is quite a long time ago. No, not Antarctic, always taught of Rockhopper. It can't be Rockhopper, there's no beard on the Duretter. The Morse code I got is Antarctic likes pies and nachos with hot sauce. And finally, we have Billy Bob, moderator of Club Penguin. Hello, Penguins. What Mr. Donnelly said was true. I made the Morse code for other new moderators will know and cracked it. P.S. This is very top secret. Don't say to anyone or I will ban you forever. Oh no, I'm getting banned. I've heard a lot of speculation on the validity of this legend. Some people say it's too crazy of an idea, while some others say it's completely real. I mean, I will say that Club Penguin having Morse code Easter eggs is not out of the question. The original in-game spy phone's light would flash on and off, and if you consider the short instances to be dots, and the longer instances to be dashes, you could spell it out in Morse code and it translated to, "You are cool." Thanks, spy phone. I really needed that. Sometimes I get a little down in the dumps and I appreciate you for being so kind. Just a couple of days ago while I was doing research for this video, I found what I thought to be conclusive evidence of it being real. A YouTube comment by Chris Glidden, otherwise known as Polo Field. Kind of a big deal. He says that the director Morse code thing is real, but I'm gonna be honest, I think he's wrong. Now, I guess I should clarify that I don't 100% know this for sure, but after doing a lot of research, I couldn't find any conclusive proof of this actually happening. The only bits and pieces I found were people repeating the story, but I couldn't find any visual evidence of any dance floor tiles giving off the supposed message. Nothing even close. It seems that the dance floor's lights always changed in a very basic 3-frame sequence. A lot more basic than I thought. Every single tile fits perfectly in a loop of 2 or 3 colors, and I found nothing that deviated. I scoured tons of archived Shockwave flash files along with old in-game footage to see if there was any tile that broke the 3-frame pattern, but I couldn't find any. I spent hours looking at every individual tile to make sure none of them did anything out of the ordinary.
Yellow, red, blue. Yellow, red, blue. Yellow, red, blue. Yellow, red, blue.
So at this point in doing my research, I was pretty stuck. I was pretty sure that it was fake, but there were minor doubts in my mind that maybe it only happened for a small window of time in the game's life or something. I would have hated to release this video and then realize I was wrong about the nightclub rumor. Because of that, I had to do something drastic to make sure. I had to try and get in contact with the developers of the game. That was scary. I'm shy, you guys know this, and I was terrified that I would send them an email and they would either ghost me or tell me to screw off and that they hated me and my stupid YouTube videos. Fortunately, that wasn't the case. I got in contact with Screenhog and he was very polite and helpful. And well, yeah, he said it was fake. He pointed out the same thing about the dance floor's 3-frame sequence I did. And also, I should state, this isn't just a guy who worked on Club Penguin. He's literally the guy who animated the dance floor. It's bittersweet, really. I mean, the bitter part is that, well, it would have been awesome if this was real, but it's not. But for me, it was really sweet to talk to Screenhog. Screenhog's cool. So, why did Polo Field say there was a hidden Morse code message? I think it's just a case of misremembering. After all, there was a hidden PSA-related Morse code Easter egg in the game, it just didn't have anything to do with the director. Also, while I'm here, I also want to debunk a sort of sister theory to the nightclub theory. There's a theory that states that the PSA headquarters music had a certain rhythm to it that aligned with the same Antarctic is the head of PSA Morse code put to audio. I found a video that demonstrated it. I can kinda hear something, I guess? Although, once again, it would be super cool if this was true. It isn't. I had that confirmed by Screenhog as well, which, once again, bittersweet, but it is nice to know for sure, and if nothing else, I still really liked looking back and seeing all the crazy little ideas fans would have about this game. I guess that's the main takeaway I'll wrap this video up with. Even though a lot of them aren't true, there's still a charm to looking at all these silly little stories that emerge surrounding any form of media that's popular. It's fun looking at how much people can create out of such small details, and I really loved how often Club Penguin's developers would work off of that. I just love Club Penguin, man. When writing and doing research for this video, I found myself playing a lot on new CP to freshen up my knowledge, and I found myself replaying all the missions in like a day. Those were so fun. I was hoping for this to be an easier video to make, but things started to get really complex towards the latter half. But hey, that's what being a long-form internet culture edutainment YouTuber is about. Sometimes you gotta hold on tight when the road gets bumpy. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys around.